Welcome back to Recap It. Today we are going to recap a 2014 horror thriller movie titled The Voices. Jerry, a young man employed at the Milton bathtub factory, chases his crush with the assistance of his talking dog and cat. Things change when she refuses to go on a date with him. But before we begin, please consider subscribing to this channel. Now without wasting any further time, let's begin, shall we? Our film begins with a man named Jerry, who works for the Milton Fixtures Company, and whose boss, Dennis, appears to be delighted with his work. As a result, he assigns him the responsibility of organizing a barbecue party for the rest of the staff. Jerry, on the other hand, agrees after he discovers that Fiona, his accounting coworker, will assist him with the planning. The next morning at work, Dennis convenes a conference with all of the planners in order to evenly distribute the chores. Fiona rushes up to Jerry after the meeting to ask him a question concerning their sound system. Jerry's attraction to her grows stronger as he is mesmerized. Jerry visits with his therapist a few days later to discuss how he's progressing in his life. Jerry is taking medicine for his schizophrenia, it turns out. He then tells her that he likes Fiona, but that he's scared she'll despise him once she realizes who he is. She assures him, though, that he should not judge her before getting to know her. Jerry is having the time of his life with Fiona at the barbecue. When he gets home, his pets startle him by inquiring if he had sex with her. This is unquestionably a side consequence of his failure to take his medications. Despite his cat's repeated doubts, Jerry remains unaffected by his statements. Because he's still buzzing from the barbecue party, Jerry has a sudden bouncy attitude at work. Fiona, on the other hand, seems a little shy around him when he sees her again. Fortunately, her coworker Lisa invites them both to join her for drinks after work. He finds that Fiona was previously engaged when they're at the bar. Jerry insists on driving Fiona home once the night is done and tries to make other plans with her. Fiona, on the other hand, appears to be uninterested in him. Jerry goes to the accounting floor later this week to pick up Fiona for the date. Regrettably, he discovers that she had departed early. Fiona emerges from behind the desk as soon as he departs. She's hiding from him because she doesn't want to go out, it turns out. As a result, Jerry dines alone while Fiona enjoys a night out with her pals. When Fiona's car breaks down in the rain, she is surprised to see Jerry driving by in his car. Jerry, of course, offers to drive her home. Fiona, on the other hand, keeps dragging him along. Surprisingly, Jerry is so intent on Fiona that he accidentally runs over a deer. Fiona stares in horror as Jerry cuts his throat, not realizing he hears voices, while hearing the deer pleading him to kill him so he doesn't have to suffer. As a result, Fiona tries to flee from him, but Jerry falls on top of her and kills her with the knife. Jerry has a nervous breakdown at home after killing Fiona by mistake. His dog tries to help him come up with a plan, but his cat warns him that if he doesn't get rid of the body, he'll be gone for good. Jerry follows his cat's instructions the next morning, but he keeps it in the back of his truck. Following that, Jerry visits his psychiatrist for an evaluation. When he comes home, however, he begins to dispose of Fiona's body, keeping only her head to place in his refrigerator. Jerry then decides to take his medicines to regain control of his situation. He knows he can't hear the voices as soon as it works. Jerry's medicines wear off the next morning, allowing him to communicate with Fiona's head once more. As a result, Fiona requests him to bring her a buddy because she is lonely in the fridge. Despite his reservations at first, she is able to persuade him. When Jerry arrives at work, though, his employer begins questioning him about seeing Fiona. Jerry, predictably, denies seeing her. Jerry is watching TV with his pets later that night when his cat begs him to murder another woman. Jerry is split between his two pets, despite his dog's best efforts to persuade him otherwise. Jerry tries to chat to Lisa about getting drinks after her shift ends at work, and she seems to like the idea. As a result, they share a few drinks while discussing their dogs. Lisa, who is nervous, asks him if he wants to return to her apartment. He appears to agree. Jerry, on the other hand, brings her to his childhood home in the woods while they're in his truck. Jerry then recalls his mother's schizophrenic state as soon as he enters the house, and how he had to put an end to her suffering so she wouldn't be locked away. Lisa kisses him in an attempt to console him. As a result, Jerry takes her home with him to make love to her. Jerry is overjoyed the next morning after spending a beautiful night with Lisa. He has the impression that he is becoming attached to her, and she has the impression that he is as well. As a result, he clearly disregards the plan to murder her. Everything is okay throughout the day, until he watches the news after his shift and learns that the police have discovered the remnants of Fiona's body. Spiraling out of control, Jerry seeks guidance from his dogs and Fiona's severed skull when he receives a knock at the door from Lisa, who offers him handmade cakes. Jerry, who is nervous, maintains as much composure as he can around her. He learns, however, that he has locked himself out of the apartment. So, while he's using the fire exit to get in, Lisa uses a bobby pin to pick the lock. Unfortunately, she enters to find blood all over the place, as well as Fiona's head covered on the table. As a result, Jerry begins to cry as he knows what he must do. Lisa, terrified, flees to his bedroom to seek refuge. He then promises that if she keeps his secret, he would not harm her. Lisa apparently tries to flee the room, prompting Jerry to slam her against his bed frame, causing her head to shatter open. Jerry finishes by placing Lisa's severed head next to Fiona's. The next morning, Jerry's coworkers discover that Lisa has also failed to show up. They also learn of Jerry's murder of his mother many years ago. So Allison, one of the female accountants, comes up to his place. Jerry puts her severed head in the fridge with the other women once more. Jerry's dog, disgusted by his acts, informs him that he is now completely evil. Jerry, enraged, yells at all of the voices to be quiet. As a result, Jerry seeks aid from his psychiatrist. She, on the other hand, dismisses it as annoyances as long as he doesn't harm anyone. Jerry then informs her that he did indeed do it. The lady, terrified, asks him to tell her everything that has transpired. Despite this, he notices her trying to call the cops while he is looking away. Jerry, terrified, decides he has to kill her as well, because she'll inform the cops one way or another. He then binds her up and drags her away into the woods. Jerry begins rambling in the woods about his history and how it has scarred him. She tells him that everyone has impulsive ideas, but that in his case, they manifest themselves as voices. She then tells him that he is not obligated to follow their instructions. Jerry, calmer, decides to take her home with him because he needs to feed his animals. Jerry's coworkers then show up at his residence to inquire as to why Allison hasn't returned from her appointment with him. Unfortunately, one of his coworkers stumbles across Allison's car, which is parked nearby. As a result, he enters Jerry's residence only to emerge seconds later, vomiting from the stench of decomposing remains. As a result, when Jerry returns home with his psychiatrist bound, he discovers that his pets have vanished after his employees let them escape. He eventually locates his cat, only to be greeted by the sound of police sirens outside his home. Jerry then chooses to flee fast through his bathroom vents. When the cops try to chase him down via the ducts, he hits a gas pipe, causing the entire home to explode. Jerry then watches his house burn while being pulled between staying with his burning house and fleeing from the cops by his dogs. Finally, Jerry decides to take his dog's advice and dies of asphyxiation. Jerry eventually finds himself in a blank white setting with his parents and all of the ladies he murdered. However, no one seems to hold grudges against him because they appear to forgive him for what he done. And this is where the movie ends. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, until next time.